Hello, and welcome to Circuit Stream's Introduction to Virtual Reality Workshop. Thank you all for joining us today, this evening, this morning, wherever you're located for this workshop. Now, before I do kick things off, I want to make sure that you can all hear me and see me. So if you could let me know in the chat box, can you please hear me and see me? I see Naman, yes, all good. Senna, Mike, thank you so much for letting me know. I would hate to continue on without anyone being able to hear me or see me. But a few housekeeping items I do want to bring up here. On top of the chat box, you can see 3 tabs: the chat tab, a questions tab, and a polls tab. In the chat, toss in any questions you would like. Feel free to network amongst yourself. Put in your LinkedIn profiles, whatever you would like. I love seeing people network with each other, collaborating, and doing some exciting stuff. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves and do as you see fit in the chat there. In the questions tab, if you have any questions, please put them in the questions tab. It is easier for our team in the background to answer those questions for you, easier for us to track what we may have missed. So if you have questions, please leave them in the questions tab there. I will be tossing in polls throughout this presentation just to gauge the experience of the audience we have on the workshop today, and that you can find in the polls tab there. Now, I see a lot of people joining us from all over the world here, from Colombia, Bucharest, Romania, Lisboa. So again, I would love to continue seeing where everyone is currently tuning into the workshop from. I see New York as well, Greece, Santa Barbara, California, Amsterdam, some Canadians, London, that could be England or Ontario. But great to see people tuning in from all over the world again. Love to see that. Now, for those of you who are located abroad in Europe, Asia, wherever that may be, this webinar and workshop will be recorded and sent out to everyone who had registered. So if it is late, if you need to go to bed, grab dinner, if you have to go to work and it's morning right now, no worries. We will all send you the recording of this workshop and webinar. So let's continue on. Today we will be going through, or I will be taking about 15 minutes to introduce you to who we are and what we do here at Circuit Stream, as well as an intro to virtual reality. Following this, my colleague Jerry will be doing the technical piece of the presentation, introducing you all and showing you how to get started creating your own virtual reality projects in Unity. Then I will come back, take 5 minutes to wrap up the presentation, and we will hold an in-depth question and answer session at the very end of the presentation. So if there was something that I had missed or that the team had missed answering throughout the presentation, we will cover it at the very end. So my name is Stephane, and I'm the course lead here at Circuit Stream. I have over 5 years of experience in the tech industry, working with learning management system companies, business integration platforms, travel IT technology, and now here at Circuit Stream, promoting virtual reality and augmented reality. A little bit about myself. I was a team member, I guess you could say, with Water Polo Canada. I trained with the 2008 Beijing Olympic team. I never went to the Olympics, but it was a great experience nonetheless. Today, I will be joined by my colleague, Jerry. Jerry is based all the way down from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and it's truly an honor and a pleasure to have Jerry join us and lead the instructional or the technical portion of this presentation. Jerry is our senior VR AR developer here at Circuit Stream, as well as one of our instructors. He has over 10 years of game development experience, as well as over 5 years of VR, AR, and MR development. A little cool fact about Jerry there, he's a certified scuba diver with over 5 years of experience scubaing. So any scuba divers out there, give him a shout. He's more than happy to talk about that. So who we are, what do we do? So Circuit Stream is a team of about 20 people located all around the globe from different industries and backgrounds. And now we've come together to help promote this technology to professionals and people who are interested in exploring this further. We're all professionals in Microsoft and HoloLens devices, Vive, Valve Index, and Oculus systems, as well as the Unreal Engine and the Unity engine, which we will be focusing on today. So CircuitStream is also a Unity certified training partner. And this typically means that training partners are approved based on their expertise, focus on quality education, and commitment to providing the highest level of training available. CircuitStream is also an official channel partner with Unity, where we deliver training and application development services in the architecture, engineering and construction, automotive, transportation, and manufacturing markets. All of our instructors and teachers are Unity certified, and the certificate that we offer at the end of our educational programs is recognized by Unity. So there's three things that we really do here at CircuitStream, and the first thing is education and training. So since 2015, when everyone was on the hype train to build VR and AR applications, we noticed a gap in personalized training and education. And since 2015, we've taught over 25,000 people how to develop VR and AR applications from scratch in Unity. And these are just some of the professionals and happy students that we've had join us from these organizations, from Apple and Hulu to VMware, Walmart, Hershey's, the chocolate company, various universities and post-secondary institutions with their faculty members. And it's truly been an honor to have everyone in our courses and programs there. Now, typically, we do this through our XR Development with Unity course. It's all live and online, 10 weeks long with 4 hours of instruction per week, 3 hours in class, 1 hour dedicated one-on-one private session. And for those of you who may have an interest in this in the future, our next course is on September 28th. So what differentiates us from the other, educational providers out there? It's the one-on-one support that comes bundled with our course. You get private weekly one-on-one sessions with our instructors who are all real-time developers working with large organizations and bringing it all back into the course and really helping you build your own personal project, working on a challenge or an idea that you want to develop as you're learning in our course. And again, all private one-on-one support. Now, the second thing that we do here at CircuitStream alongside education and training is content creation, or in other words, we build VR and AR apps for different organizations around the world. And these are some of our happy clients and ones we are very proud to work with and support them to implement and create VR and AR applications from scratch. Now, I do want to toss in a quick poll here. What industry are you potentially interested in applying this technology to? So I just tossed in a poll here, and I would love to see what industry are you interested in potentially using VR or AR for. Now, typically, education, UI, and UX design has been the most seen and sought after industry. But just looking at the responses here, it looks like there's a lot of educational people, film and media production as well, medical and healthcare. Looks like there's a lot of other there as well. It's a lot of different industries, and that's what's great about this technology. You can apply to almost any industry, and we'll explore that later on today. So the third thing that we do here at CircuitStream, again, the first was education and training. The second was content creation and application development. The third thing that we do here at CircuitStream is an XR platform that we launched last year to help people host their AR and VR applications on, scale, distribute, and manage these projects and applications, all while being able to track, measure, and analyze learning activities. So I will toss in a quick 2-minute video here, just kind of showing what the CircuitStream platform is all about. I will be right back. Again, very short, 2 minutes, and I hope you all enjoy it. Here it goes.
Welcome to CircuitStream. Since 2015, we've taught over 25,000 people how to build innovative XR applications. Now, we're bringing everything that we've learned together into the CircuitStream platform, a central portal for everyone in your organization to experience, distribute, and even create XR content. Log into the platform and you'll be able to launch and experience your organization's XR applications with the click of a button. Our CircuitStream Hub removes all the friction of installing and updating apps by handling everything automatically in the background so your employees don't have to. While users are in XR, we capture data from the application, allowing managers to track usage, structure pilot projects, and express ROI to stakeholders. Working together with CircuitStream, we can build analytic views around your key performance indicators and the unique problem sets that you are tackling with XR. Managers can set up and control access across the organization as you expand and scale your XR applications to train employees, communicate ideas, or do something amazing that no one has even thought of before. Our goal is to give you the tools for innovation. If you have XR developers within your organization already, they can also use the platform to upload their own applications and manage them efficiently by publishing updates and tracking quality assurance issues. The CircuitStream platform is built to manage and scale across the organization, whether you are creating your applications internally or working with an outside vendor. Start experiencing, building, and scaling XR today with the CircuitStream platform.
Woo! Brief 2-minute video there. I hope you all enjoyed it. I do want to make sure that you can all still hear me and see me. I'd hate to continue on and to talk to no one there. So I'll just wait to see in the chat. Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, now that you've learned a little bit about us, why are you all here today? What are you going to learn? Today, we'll be showing you how virtual reality apps are made in Unity. We'll also cover testing if your VR app is working, as well as give you some resources to take your project further. Again, this workshop and webinar will be recorded for everyone. We will send it to everyone who registered, so you will have time to explore this on your own time and to actually kickstart your own project. So what is virtual reality, first of all? Well, virtual reality, and how I like to explain it, is something that immerses you into a virtual world or scenario. And there are essentially 3 types of virtual reality. The first is fully immersive VR. And that's this top picture where you can see the guy kind of hanging there off of the ropes. Now, fully immersive VR is typically when you have a headset on, your reality is blocked off from the virtual. So you're fully immersed virtually, but also it could include, being suspended if it's a certain type of VR simulation there. It can include sense. It could be air blowing onto you as well. Being fully immersed into a virtual scenario and world, that's the first type of VR that is out there. The second type is semi-immersive virtual reality. And that's like the second picture there inside that cockpit of the airplane, where the cockpit of the airplane is physical and you can actually touch it. But the outside of the plane, the windows there are screens, and that's VR, kind of simulating actually flying through the air or landing or taking off while actually still being on the ground. That's semi-immersive virtual reality. And then non-immersive, you could say this is virtual reality or not, but I like to say it kind of is virtual reality. Playing a video game like Fortnite. Think about it like you're in a physical room, but kind of immersed in a virtual game and environment. That's non-immersive virtual reality. Some could debate it's not even VR at all, but those are the 3 types of VR that I like to explain to others. Now, I will toss in a quick poll here, and I always like to see how much experience those have with Unity. Let me know on a scale of 0 to 10, how much experience do you have with Unity? 0 being never heard of Unity at all, 10 being your Chuck Norris of virtual reality and Unity, that you could teach one of our programs. So I'm just looking at the responses here. Lots of zeros, ones, twos, not too bad threes. So it looks like the vast majority of the audience today is under 5 and under, which is completely fine. This is an introduction to VR, and we hope we show you something cool there. Now, for those of you who said 0, what is Unity? Unity is a free 3D development engine for building games, simulations, and experiences. It's the easiest way to begin making apps for XR. Now, I saw a question in the questions tab there. XR is an umbrella term for VR, AR, and MR, I guess you could say. It encompasses, it's just a short term to say virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. It's essentially all of those, our XR industry, all in one there. Now, in terms of VR, how far are we today with the evolution of virtual reality, and what can we expect? I always like to say and compare this to the evolution of the mobile phone. So, we started off years back, I guess not started off, but years ago, we had these big brick-like phones to the very left there. We could throw them through windows and walls, take down buildings, demolish, anything. But as years went on, phones got smaller. They got more compact, more powerful into the Androids and the iOS phones that we have today. So where are we in terms of virtual reality? I like to say we're at that first generation iPhone moment where we're finally getting these very convenient, accessible, and affordable VR headsets with very cool software and games coming out. And, it's all just going to get, smaller, more accessible, more affordable from here on. We're about at that first generation iPhone moment, but still a lot of way to go. Now, comparing the evolution of the mobile phone, this is the cardboard VR headset. You could call this the big brick-like mobile phone. And now, as you're making your way through the years, you could call this maybe the flip phone with Google's Daydream headset, where you put in your mobile phone and that be a VR simulation. Then we move into the Gear VR, followed by the Oculus Go and the PlayStation's Sony VR headset as well. And now we're slowly making that transition into the first generation iPhone moment with the HTC Vive headsets that have come out. Very great devices. Oculus's different headsets like the Rift S, the Rift, and the Oculus Quest that was released about winterish last year, fall last year. Super great headset. One of the, if not the only true wireless VR headset currently on the market. So if you haven't had the chance to play around with that, I would go suggest to play around. This is probably that first generation iPhone moment, a wireless VR headset that you don't have to bring and tug your computer around to actually play. You can bring it to friends, families, homes, and play around with that. Now, this is the Lamborghini of all VR headsets, the Ferrari of VR headsets, the Valve Index. It's the most expensive one out there. It's the most popular, or not popular, I would say, but the most powerful headset out there. And, I'm curious, have any of you played around with the Valve Index? I will toss in another poll here just to see what devices do you own. If it's not on the poll there, toss it into the chat. Very curious to see what devices have you played around with, if any. I see a lot of nuns, some Magic Leaps, which are AR headsets. Great to see. Lots of Quests, Oculus Rift S's, the HTC Vives, mobile phones. Obviously, everyone has access, almost everyone, to a mobile phone. But it looks like either, not a lot of people have a headset, or it's the Oculus Quest. And not a problem. If you are going to get one, I would say look into the Oculus Quest. I love it. Super fun. So how does one actually go about creating a VR experience? First, you take an idea and you bring that idea into a creation engine like Unity. That's where you develop and create your idea, your VR simulation scenario, which is then pushed out to one of the available SDKs and then to the relevant headset or device that you had built for. So again, you bring your idea into an engine like Unity, you build it, you push it out to an SDK, which then goes to headsets, and there it is, voila. Anyone can play around with it and use it. Now, today we will be going and showing you how to kickstart your own VR project in Unity. And we'll be using a plugin called OpenVR. This will be led by my colleague Jerry, and I will introduce him here shortly. But it is a great time to get interested in this technology. You know, there's over 2,000 companies currently investing in this tech. You know, from Google, various manufacturing companies. We got Bosch, Snapchat. Everyone's seen Snapchat's AR functions. You know, Facebook, Oculus, and Instagram, Sony, you name it. You know, various companies are investing at this. It's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, so much more room to grow and to go. Now, what can we expect in terms of the market and the trends? VR is going to almost double within the next couple of years. Mobile AR is going to more than double within the next 2 years or so. As for augmented reality and mixed reality headsets, they say it's going to more than quadruple within 2 years. So again, lots of growth to do, lots of room to go, and it's great to see everyone joining in, super excited and ready to learn more about this technology. Now, this is something that I do love to share. Now, 60% of the world's XR content is made with Unity, and that's what we will be showing you today and how to kickstart your own VR application. There's 601% demand growth for real 3D graphic skills compared to the market, 57% projected Unity developer growth over the next years. They say that 1.1 million US programming jobs were expected to go unfulfilled this year, and over 1,400% projected AR VR job growth this year and in years to come. And another reason why we like to focus on Unity is those with Unity skills are expected to earn $20,000 more than those without. Very good to know. But today is an intro to the world of virtual reality. And I would like to take this moment to invite my colleague Jerry onto the stage, who will be leading the technical piece of this presentation, showing you all how to kickstart your own VR project in Unity. It's going to be super exciting. It's a pleasure and an honor to have Jerry join us. Jerry, again, is one of our lead instructors and developers here, based out of Brazil, taught hundreds and thousands of people how to develop these apps. So, Jerry, thank you for joining us. And again, we will take about half an hour with this portion. I'll come back to conclude, and then we'll open it up for a large Q&A session. Thank you, Jerry.
All right. Thanks, Steph. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me and see me well? Please let me know. All right. That's great. Welcome, everyone. So today we're going to start with a project in VR. So I hope that everyone out there learns today how to get started in Unity. If you have never touched VR before, that's not a problem. I'm going to be covering it from the beginning. We'll also be using a little bit of scripting, C# scripting, to make some things interesting in our project. Notice that after the workshop, you're going to be receiving the recording and also the project that I built. So if you want more time to go dip into it and to see how things were in there, don't worry about that. We're going to receive the project. So before we just start jumping into the Unity, I would like to show first what we'll be going to cover. So let me see. Let me just share my screen. All right. So this is the project that we're going to be building. Let me just play it for a while. All right, it's just loading. There we go. So here I am. We're going to be building this. It's like a medieval room or something like that. And I have a virtual hand that follows the movement of my controller. And I can also grab things when I press the grip button, and we can throw some fireballs. So this is what we're going to be building in a while. All right, all right. So let's get started. I have an empty project in here, so we can do everything from the beginning. Please let me know if you can see my screen, if it's clear, if it's in a good size. Everything okay right there? All right, great, great. All right, so let's start to set up this project for VR. If you have never seen Unity before, when you open it, it just looks like this. We have a bunch of windows in here. We're gonna be using them for different purposes. So this is the hierarchy when we can create, where we can create our objects. So our camera, our hands, everything are gonna be displayed in here in this hierarchy. We have the scene view where we can actually move around and position our objects. We're going to be seeing that in a while. Here we have the project view where we bring our assets. So if we bring, for example, videos, 3D models, audio, textures, everything, they're going to be listed in here. And finally, on the right, we have the inspector where we can manipulate the properties of an object. So if I select my camera, for example, everything related to the camera is here. I can change the position, I can change the scale and other things. So by default, the project is not set up for VR. So we need to do some steps. Notice that I'm covering Unity 2019. This is because it's the last long-term support version. They just released the 2020 out of beta, but it's super recent, so I recommend starting with 2019. So those steps in here are applied for 2019 dot something. It doesn't need to be exactly the same version. It could be 2019 any other thing. All right, all right. So the first thing that we need to do in here is enable this for VR. The way we do that is go to Edit, Project Settings, and Player. So if you go to those options, we're going to see here that we have the virtual reality supported. If I check this, Unity is going to import some things. It's going to process some things. We need to wait a little bit, but it's going to bring in here all of the plugins that we need to make it work in VR. So this is basically the first step. It was very laggy for me when the VR, okay. All right, I'm just looking into the chat. Maybe because I was streaming lots of things, it just slows down a little bit. All right, so now that I checked the virtual reality supported, Unity just displays some more options for me. So those are the plugins or the SDKs that we need to make it work with different headsets. So by default, we have the Oculus and the OpenVR. The OpenVR is the one that is linked to SteamVR and works in most platforms. So usually if we have those two, the OpenVR and the Oculus in here, that should be enough for today. We can also add more supports. So it just depends on the project that we are building to. I'm using an Oculus Quest today, so I just need to have the Oculus in here and the OpenVR, and it's going to work. All right, so this is what we need to do in here. The second thing that we need is to import one package that's going to allow me to track the position of my controllers. To get that into my project, I'm going to go to Window, Package Manager, and then the package manager is the component in Unity that allows us to bring more components to the project, because sometimes if I'm not working with VR, for example, I don't need those, so it doesn't bloat my project. And we're going to search for XR input helper. So this is the one that we need. It's called XR Legacy Input Helper. So this is the one that we're going to be dragging into our project. So we just need to search it in here and then click on install, wait a couple of seconds, and it's going to import this package inside of Unity. So the package manager is something really interesting. We can find thousands of different things in here that we can just install to extend our project. So I recommend everyone to just messing around and seeing what they offer in here, depending on the project that we are building. All right, so now I have everything that I need to make my project work in VR. I already have the input helpers. I already have the VR settings in there. So now we need to start building our representation of the headsets in here. All right. The first thing that we need to do is create something which is called the VR rig. This is gonna be like the representation of myself that I am here in the real world, my representation in this virtual world. So let's start creating that. We can create a name to game object here in Unity. So a name to game object is basically a game object that is not rendered. If we see here, it's basically just, well, it holds a position. We can move it around the scene, but it's not showing anywhere. If I go to the game scene, for example, it's not showing there. It just serves to hold other objects in here. So I'm gonna rename this to XR rig. And under this, I'm going to create something to represent my head, something to represent my right hand, and something to represent my left hand. So we're going to use empty game objects for that as well. So let's create in here something which going to call, which I want to call left hand. And another thing that I want to create as the right hand. If you notice in here, and this is the reason why this thing is called hierarchy, is because I have like a parent and child and children in here. So if I move a parent, the children moves together. So every time that my VR rig moves, the hands are gonna move as well. So now I have the basis for my rig with the left and the right hand. Oops. Let me just rename it to make it better. And the next thing that I need in here is something to be my head. So the head is something where in the device, I'm gonna I'm gonna capture what is going on in the world and bring it to here. So I need to have a camera. By default, every time that we create a scene in Unity, there is this main camera in here. So we can just use that. I'm gonna drag the main camera into my XR rig and rename this to head. So notice that now I have a complete structure to be my my VR rig in here. So I have the head and the hands. We need to make some adjustments in those components so they look a little bit better, and also they can track our headset. In the head, the first thing that we need to do is basically here, adjust the clipping planes of the camera. If I go closer to my camera in here, we can see that there are those lines. They determine what my camera can see and what it cannot see. So the far plane is basically how far this camera can see, how far it's gonna render my world. And the near plane is quite here in the beginning. It shows where the camera starts to render. So we can see that there is an offset from the position of my camera to the actual rendering, to the near clip plane. In VR, this is not super good because, say for example, I drag my hands closer to my eyes, the hands are gonna disappear because they are gonna be in this area that the camera cannot render. So if we're making something for VR, I recommend that we just decrease this value to something really small, like 0.01. Now we're gonna see that the beginning of my camera, like the near plane, is really close to the position of the camera. So as soon as I move my head around, I move my my headset around, if I bring my hands closer to it, it's not gonna clip my hands. So I can still see those. All right, so I have the structure in here. The camera looks good. We need to make our head follow our headset, and the left hand follow the left controller, and the right hand follow the right controller. So how do we do that? Fortunately, we don't need to make any code just for this this part, for this portion. What we need to add is a component in the head, another one in the left hand, and another one in the right hand. So this component is called a tracked pose driver. So a tracked pose driver is a component in Unity that is able to track something that exists, like a hardware that exists in the real world, and bring the position and the rotation of that into this virtual world. So we're going to be using that component here in the camera. So let me just repeat how I did that. I select my camera, then I clicked on Add Component and searched for Tracked Pose Driver. Here it is. So if I check the properties in here, I have the device, which is tracking a generic XR device. So it's going to track anything. There is a XR device. In my case, basically my headset in here, my Oculus Quest headset. The pose, the source in here is the center eye. So I'm going to check where the center eye is, the middle of the eyes, and then replicate that position into the head. And here I have what type of update I want. The rotation and the position, we can change to only rotation and only position. This thing is important according to the headset that you have in there. For example, here I have an Oculus Quest. The Oculus Quest has 6 degrees of freedom. It means that I can track the position and also the rotation. So I can basically do both. If you're using something like the Gear VR or a cardboard or something like that, you won't be able to track all of those things. Maybe you need to track only the rotation. So it means that you have 3 degrees of freedom instead of 6. All right, so this is everything that I need to make this project, or actually when I hit play in here, my head's gonna be tracked from the position of my headset. We need to do the same thing for the left hand and for the right hand. We are going to use the same component. So I'm gonna select the left hand in here and add the same tracked pose driver. The difference is that I don't want to track a generic XR device anymore. I want to track a generic XR controller because I want to move my controller in the real world and replicate that position and rotation into this object in here. So I'm gonna change that to XR controller. And now look that the pose source changed. Now I have left controller and right controller. I just need to make sure that my left hand tracks the left controller. And if I select the right hand, we're gonna add the same component, track pose driver, change it to generic XR controller. And then since it's the right hand, I want it to track the right controller. That's all. So now I do have a basis for tracking my head and my hands. Actually, we won't be able to see anything because this is empty, this is empty. So we need to add something in here that I want to track. It could be, for example, a primitive. So if I right click here in the hierarchy and create 3D object and then create a cube. If I drag this cube onto my left hand, and then actually let me drag that into the right hand. And then zero out the position, I will see that I have this cube in here, which is a child of my right hand. And we already know that the right hand, this object is tracking the right controller. So let's see what happens when I hit play. If I move my right hand, we can see the cube in here. I think it's giant. Let me just decrease it a little bit. We can see by default in here in Unity, the unit in here is meters. So this cube is like 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. My hand is not that big. So let me just make it a lot smaller so we can test it properly. If I hit play now and go back to my device, when I move, can you guys see that? Let me just make sure that I have the maximize on play in here so everyone can see it. There we go. So this cube is representing my hand. Every time I move the controller or rotate the controller, that cube moves and rotates together with me. But I don't want to use a cube. I want to use something that is better than a cube. In the project that we're going to receive, there is a folder called VR Hands. And inside of this, there is a prefabs folder. And I do have a hand module in here. So I'm going to use the a hand instead of that cube. I just need to drag this as a child of my right hand. Zero it out is already zeroed out. And I can use the same one for the left hand. So now I have a right hand and a left hand. Actually, if you look in here, they both are left hands. We can use a trick key. Instead of having two models, we can just mess a little bit with the scale. So I will select the right hand, for example. I want to flip it. So in order to flip it, I just need to mess with the X scale. So I'm going to use a negative scale. The scale is actually the size of the hand. So look at that. If I make a negative scale, it just flips to the other side. I just need to have a -1 in here. So now I have a right hand and a left hand. I can just change the name in here so I don't get confused. I have the left and the right hand. And if I hit play again, it should look a lot better. Let's see. There we go. So now, instead of that cube, I just have this thing tracking my my controller, and it's a hand. It's not a cube anymore. All right. So this is it for mapping that. We also noticed in this project, as soon as you download it, and you can use anything in here, that I prepared the room. If you go to the project, there's a folder called room, and inside of that, there's a prefabs. And in the actually, it's not in the rooms, it's just in the prefabs. I have this medieval room. I just need it to be in my scene, so I will drag it to the scene, and now here it is. Look at that. It could be anything. You can find cool assets like this one in the asset store, in the Unity asset store. This one was free. I didn't pay anything for it. Some of those are paid, so you just need to search for good ones. And now I want my XR rig to be in a good position in relation to this medieval room. If you see here, it's outside of it, so this is not good. I want it to be inside. So remember that the camera is like my eyes, so everything that is under the camera view in here, those lines, which we call frustum, it's going to be seen. Otherwise, it's not going to be seen. So now if I hit play again, instead of that, just the sky, I will have this medieval room. Let's see. Nah, it didn't work. Why not? What happens when I hit play? Something is wrong. Let me see what's wrong. Okay, it's changing the position. All right, I think I know what's going on. Let me see. Yeah, that's a problem. My rig is not aligned with the camera in here. So I just need to zero out the position of the camera just to make sure that they are together. So now it's okay. You can check in here that what was happening in here is I have the XR rig in here and the camera was far from it. So it was not properly set. I just selected the head and make sure that it is aligned with the rig. So now I can drag the rig back to where I want it to be. And if I hit play, I should be able to see something better. Let's see. Yeah, that's a lot better, right? So I can still see my hand. I can look around. I think I'm way too high, but it's just adjusting that position of the XR rig. But at least I'm in the room. All right. So this is the first step for building this VR experience. So we didn't use any code right now. We just use the components that Unity provides. In order to track if I press something in here, so for example, I want to be able to know if I'm pressing the trigger or the grip button, we need a little bit of code. But for the code, we need to make sure that we have the input set up in Unity. So by default, they do not come set up. We need to set them up. Let's see how to do that. We need to click on Edit, and then Project Settings, and then Input Manager. So here, under the Input Manager, we have this axis thing. It's a list of possible inputs. Those inputs in here are things that Unity can track in terms of input. So we have, for example, the mouse X, the mouse Y. Those are the positions of the mouse. We have the horizontal, which is if I press left or right on the keyboard, or A or D on the keyboard. We need to add some more inputs in here to track something on my controller. What I want to do in here is every time that I press the trigger button, this one, I want to fire a ball, I want to make something. So we need to track the trigger button. Let's do this for the right hand, so you can replicate that for the left hand later. I need to add one more input in here. The way we do that is increasing this number. So this number is how many inputs we have available. From 18, I will make it 19. So it just duplicates the last one, but I don't want to cancel. I want a right grip. So I will rename it to, no, it's not grip, actually the trigger. So I rename it to right trigger. And we need to set up some things in here to make sure that Unity is tracking the correct input. To know what details we need to place in here, we need to go to the documentation in Unity. So I'm going to open this. I will also place that for you guys in the chat. So this is the Unity manual that tells us what we need in terms of input. So here is what we are looking for, this XR input mapping. Since we're using the legacy input index, the legacy input helper, we need to look this column in here, the third column. So I'm looking for the trigger, right? So Unity tells me that a trigger is an axis, and that the left one is the number 9 and the right one is the number 10. What does that mean? I will show you. So if I go back in here, it says that that thing is an axis, right? So here in the type, instead of key or mouse button, I need to change that to joystick axis. What an axis is? Well, a button is either pressed or not pressed, right? So I have like 0 for not pressed and 1 for pressed. A joystick axis, it can vary. So it's like from 0 to 1. The grip button, I can detect if I'm pressing it super with a lot of force. It's completely pressed and it's going to be 1. It's not pressed at all. It's going to be 0. But I can have values in between. So you can use that for make different behaviors in your application. So this is what an axis is. It's just not 0, 1. It can be anything. Because Unity is telling me that it's an axis, we need to just change this to joystick axis. The other thing, the number in here, so I'm making it for the right trigger. So I need to check the right controller in here for the trigger is 10th. It means that I need to go here to axis, where it says axis, and select the 10th axis. So don't ask me why, how they map that. They're just trying to make sure that you can map anything in any controller to Unity. So you just need to refer to the documentation, check, well, I'm using the legacy input. I want to use the trigger. So the trigger for the right is the 10th axis. Just go back in here, select the 10th axis. What is it? The 10th axis, and that's all. So now we should be able to detect if we press the right trigger. But we need some scripting for that. So let's create a script. I'm going to go back here to my project. I'll right click in here. I want to keep my project organized. So I'm going to create a folder first. Right click and create folder and call it scripts. This is the only script that we're going to be creating. But, well, let's make it organized so we build the habit. This script is going to be controlling what is possible to do with my hand. So I will call it VR hand. I will right click, create a C# and call it VR hand. So in Unity, when we want to add behaviors to our objects, we need to create scripts. C# is the only language that really works inside of Unity nowadays. So we need to stick to that. To edit this VR, to edit in a script, you can use any external tool. The way we set that up is we go to Edit, Preferences, and then we have this External Tools tab, and we can choose External Script Editor. So we can use any one. If you don't want to pay, I just recommend the Visual Studio 2017 or the 2019 community. They are free. You can use them for free. Personally, I prefer to use Rider, but it's not free. It has like a subscription. So it's up to you. Anything that you can get in there. Visual Studio is amazing as well, so you can just use that. To open this script, I just need to double click it and wait for my editor to process it. The first time, it usually takes some time. But as soon as the editor processes it, here it is. So when we create a script, every single script that we create, they will start with this structure. So what this structure is, we have a class, which is basically the script, the container for the script, the name that we gave, VR hand. It inherits from one behavior. So this basically is like the default behavior for components in Unity. This brings the start and the update functions for me. The start function is automatically called by Unity once when I hit play. So if I want to initialize things, for example, we can just use the start function. The update function is like my game loop, is the application loop. It's called every single frame. So if we want to make things move, we need to use the update. If you want to check for the input, which is the thing that we want to do right now, we also need to use the update function. All right, so what I want to do in here is check if the grip button is pressed, right? How to do that? We're going to use the input class. This is a default class in Unity. We already learned that the trigger button is an axis. So we're going to use the function called @axis. And I need to provide the name of the axis. The name is the one that we created. So how I named that? I named that right trigger. So this is the name of the axis that I want. So if I go back in here, this is gonna give me that value. This value is how much I'm pressing the trigger button. It's gonna be from 0 to 1. 0 if I'm not pressing at all, 1 if I'm pressing completely. I need to capture this in a variable so I can use that variable. So let's use that. Float. Float is one of the types that C# offers. This is basically a number that can be decimal, so it can be 0, 0.1, 0.11, anything like that. So grip, no, it's not grip, it's a trigger value. All right. So basically this is gonna give me every single frame a value between 0 and 1. 0 if I'm not pressing anything, 1 if I'm pressing completely the trigger button. And we can use that just to trigger things. We can trigger animations, we can cast the spell. That's what we're going to be doing. So now that I have this value, I can use an if statement. An if statement is basically a statement in C# or in any other language that tests the value of something. So I want to check if this is 1 or closer to 1. So let's do that. If the trigger value is greater than 0.8, for example, I can do something here. So before we jump into instantiating the fireball. Let us just see if it's working right now. So a good way of doing that is using the debug.log function. Debug.log function is basically a function that it doesn't go to the final application when we build it, but we can use that to test things, to log things in the console while we are using the editor. So I just want to know if the trigger is pressed. So trigger is pressed. And then we can check if it works before we move into more behaviors. And go back in here and see if it works. I need to add this script to one of the objects that exists. So I'm going to add it to the right hand. I'm just going to drag it to the right hand. This is how we add scripts. So I have the script in here. I want this to be part of the right hand component. I just need to drag it in here. Now, if I hit play, we can see besides the project tab, we have the console tab. Here is where we are going to see the message that we log. So we expect to have a message when I press the trigger button. Let's see if that happens. So you can see here, it was triggered many times. This is because, as I said, it's checking in the update. So every time that value is greater than 0.8, it means that I'm pressing this button almost to the end. And we can check that everything is working in there. All right. So how to use that function to just spawn something and make that something appear in the world. Let's see how to do that. So the first thing that we need to have is a reference in here to the thing that I want to instantiate. So let's create a reference. The way we do that is basically in the beginning of our class, we can create properties or fields in here. I want to have a field for the object that I want to instantiate. It's going to be the fireball. So I'm going to create a public variable of the type GameObject. The reason why I make it public is because I want to see this in the inspector. So we're going to be seeing that in a while. Fireball. If I go back to the inspector, we'll see here that if I select the right hand, which has the VR hand script, we do have the fireball field, and there is nothing assigned in there. So what we need to do is basically drag something here to have that reference. In the project, we also have, well, let's start with a sphere before. So I'm going to right click in here, create a sphere, which I'm going to call fireball. 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. So it's super big. I don't want it to be that big. I'm going to make it 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. Here it is. I want this sphere. Since I want to throw this sphere, I want to make it fly in the air. I want to add some physics to it. So in Unity, the component that allows me to add physics is called a rigid body. So I will click on Add Component and search for rigid body in here. This is like adding mass to this object. So I can apply forces. It's going to fall to the gravity. It's going to collide with things. So that's why I'm adding this rigid body right now in here. And that's it. By default, the mass is 1 kilogram. That's okay for me. I don't need more than that. Now I want to make this fireball a prefab. A prefab is something that I can reuse and I can reinstantiate. So the easiest way of doing that is basically just dragging from the hierarchy to the project. So now I have this fireball in here, which is a prefab. I can delete it from the scene because we're going to instantiate that using the code. So I will select back my hand and drag the sphere to the fireball component. So now I can basically instantiate it using the the code. Let's see how to do that. So here in the update, if the trigger value is pressed, I want to cast that ball. So how do I do that? Well, we need to use a function called instantiate in Unity. This function magically creates an object in the scene using code. So it's basically as dragging it to the hierarchy this way, but we do that using the code. So it takes some parameters, at least 3. So the first one is what I want to instantiate. I want to instantiate the fireball. So it's going to create a copy of the fireball. The other thing is where I want it to be instantiated. So I want it to be instantiated in the position of my hand, right? The position of my hand is the position of this component. So we just need to use the transform dot position, because the transform is basically this component in here that holds the position, and then we can reuse it. And the last one is the rotation. We almost always use quaternion identity. It just means that I don't want to apply any rotation. So the basic rotation is going to be there. It's like multiplying the rotation by 1. So a quaternion is a very complex data structure that deals with rotation. Unity uses that because it's more efficient and we can do more kinds of rotation using that. But now we just need to tell Unity that we want to instantiate with the default rotation. This is going to return for us something, the clone that was instantiated. So I want to capture that because later I want to add some force to it. So new fireball is equals to. So this is going to instantiate a fireball in the scene and make that into this variable. So I can use this variable to make other things with this in the future. So let's apply the force. I want to move forward. So we need to apply a force to this fireball. So how do we apply force to things? They should be applied to the rigid body. So the first thing that we need to do is get a reference for the rigid body that is associated with the fireball. The fireball is a game object which holds some scripts and holds some components. Let's get the component which is the type rigid body. So this is how we get components in game objects. We just use this function get component. We pass the type of the component that we want, and then we returns the component. In the rigid body, we have a function to apply force, which is called add force. The add force needs direction and, well, basically just a direction. So I wanted to move forward. I want to go in the direction of my hand. So if I go back in here, in the Unity, where is it? And select my hand, we see that we have those handlers in here. So we have up, left, and forward. I want the ball to move in this direction. I want it to move forward. So we're going to use this. I just need to use my transform dot forward. This is a direction, but it just points to a direction with size 1. So this is going to be a small force. We need to multiply that by something just to make it a little bit more strong. And that should be it. Let's see if it works before we move forward with things. So where is it? If I click the trigger, look at that. I'm just creating lots of balls. The thing is, since it's in the update, it's just creating many. We need to add a cooldown. But before we make that cooldown, let's add some fire effect in here. In the project that we're going to be receiving, there is a folder called effect examples. In there we have a prefabs, and the prefab has a fireball. So I can just drag this fireball as a child of my other ball. So here it is. I think it's too big. I can just make it a little bit smaller. Looks better. Now I can apply this prefab back. So I just need to drag it in here. Oh, I can do that. So I need to click here on overrides and then apply all. And now oops, let me see if the position is correct. No, it's not. It should be 0, 0, 0. So this is in the same place. I think I made a mistake. I replaced my, okay, don't do that, guys. I had two prefabs with the same name, so my sphere just was gone. Damn, that's not what I want. I need to add a rigid body back in here. I just deleted that by accident. Sorry for that. Let me see if I didn't mess up anything else. I select the hand. No. Okay, it looks correct. No, the position is not correct. Okay, now it's correct. So I have this, which is the ball that we created. I added the fireball as a child of it. So every time that this moves with the force, this is gonna move as well. And I don't want this sphere to be there. So I can just disable the mesh render in here, right? And apply my prefab. So now I only have the fire ball and not that ball anymore. Let's see if it works. Well, quite works. The thing is, I think that force is not super strong. I would need to add more force to that. 20 was not enough. Let me just maybe make it more. Make it stronger, just to make it travels further. Let's see. Oh, now unit doesn't want to play. Go. Okay, there we go. Nah, it's not flying. Why not? Let me see what I'm missing in here. So in the right hand, I am referencing this fireball. This fireball have a rigid body. This rigid body is the one that I apply the force. Add component, add force, forward, 20. Yeah, that should be okay. Maybe we also need to pass type of force in here. So I'm gonna add the impulse force. This is basically another modality of force. Just gonna apply some acceleration in the beginning. All right, another thing that we need to do in here, and I think that's the last thing that we're gonna do, is basically making a cooldown, because as you've seen, if I keep pressing, it's creating many fireballs. That's not what I want. So we should be able, it's still not flying. I don't know why. Let me see. Maybe it's colliding with the hand. Let me test. That's odd. I don't know why it's not flying. I don't know. We can check that in a while. I just make the cooldown in here. The thing is, it's creating many fireballs. So if you can check that, when I press the trigger button, in every single frame, it just creates a lot. So if we check here, you're gonna see thousands of them. This is not what I want. I want to create a cooldown. So let's make that real quick just to fix this. The easiest way of doing that is creating, we need to have two variables in here. One is the time that we want, like how many seconds I want before being able to create the second ball. Public float cooldown time. And the second one is if I am allowed to cast or not. So it's a public Boolean. Boolean is a type that holds true or false. Can cast is equals to true. It starts as true. So by default, I can always cast. And here we're gonna check one more thing. So it's not only if I can trigger, if I press the trigger, but also if I can cast things. So if my can cast is equals to true. And if it's true, I make it false. So can cast is now false. This is gonna allow me to cast only once. So we need to reset this can cast. We need to reset this to true at some point after some seconds. So there are many ways of doing that. Let's do the easiest one. I'm going to create a function. Set cooldown. So it could be named anything. We just try to give meaningful names. Can cast is equals to true. So when I call this function, it's going to reset that state that can cast to true again. Now I just need to call it as soon as I make it false, but I want to wait some seconds. So there is one easy way of doing that in Unity, which is using the invoke method. For the invoke, we need to pass two things. The first one is the name of the function that I want to call and how long we're going to wait until we call this function. So let's use the cooldown time. I didn't assign anything here. Let me add 2 seconds, for example. So now I should be able to only cast every 2 seconds, and that's going to fix that input problem. Let's see. Doesn't seem like it works. What did I do wrong in here? Can cast starts as true, then it makes false. Can cast is false. Then I cannot do that again. Then I just reset that. My cooldown time. Let me see if it was serialized to 0. Where is the hand? Yeah, it was serialized to 0. Well, I don't want 0. I want 2. So this is something interesting to notice in here. I added a default value in here, but this is just the default. So if I change it in the inspector, so say, for example, I make it 5, it's not going to alter the script. For new components, they're going to start with 2 because this is the default. But my editor even tell me that for this component, it's using 5. So this was the problem. It was set to 0. So it was just resetting after 0 seconds. Let's see again. And there we go. So now I need to wait 2 seconds until I can spawn a new fireball. All right. So I think that's all. I just want to fix the fireball not going forward. I want to do what's going on in here. So let me just try to find out real quick what's the problem. In the original project was working. I don't know what I did different. I just created and then I add the force. That should be enough. Let me see if I just need more force. I don't think that's a problem. Well, I don't know what I did differently here. The original project was just working. Let me see if I did something different. That's basically the same thing. Anyways, I don't know. This rigid body is not helping me. Okay, well, I'll try to find out that and get back later. So I don't want to spend time debugging in here. But I think that's it. So I'm gonna invite Steph back into here to finish it. And I will be back to answer your questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jerry. I appreciate it. And I do just want to do a quick check again, AV audio check. Can you all hear me and see me? Let's see. Yeses. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Jerry, thank you again for your work and for introing and showing us how to create our own VR application from scratch in Unity. Thank you, Jerry. Now, I will take 5 minutes to quickly wrap this up. Then I'll invite Jerry back on stage here to answer any questions we may have missed in the questions tab or in the chat. So again, feel free to toss in questions right now in the questions tab ideally, and we'll get back to it here in the next 5 minutes or so. But again, no matter what your interest is, and I know we flew through the content quite quickly there, we would love to have you with us in our 10-week XR development with Unity course. If you're looking to transition careers and enter the industry, we're more than happy to help you out with that. Syed, who actually worked at a steel company as a project manager, took our course, and he didn't even finish our course. He landed a job with a studio company as an XR business development and project manager, and he's actually starting his own company now. Crazy. If you're looking to, bring this back to work, we had Laura Smith from SNC-Lavalin take our course and apply what she learned back at SNC-Lavalin, and now they're working with this technology thanks to her. If you're working with a company, a group of colleagues or friends, we offer private team training as well. We've had various faculty members take our programs and course, and we would be more than happy to help you all learn how to implement, manage, and create your own VR, AR experiences. So we do this through our XR Development with Unity course. It's all live and online, 4 hours a week over 10 weeks, and our next course starts on September 28th. The full price of our course is $3,950. We do offer payment plans and financing options to help manage this, and we currently have 3 early bird discounts available and remaining for the program. So if you're interested, reach out to myself, to Kyle, to any of our colleagues. We would be more than happy to chat about it and to have you with us. What can you expect to learn? Well, you'll learn how to use Unity to develop your own virtual reality and augmented reality applications from scratch. You'll also learn the fundamentals of C# coding to optimize your projects. And again, it's 3 hours of class instruction per week, 2 1.5-hour classes, as well as a 1 hour private weekly one-on-one session you get with instructors like Jerry or any of our other instructors who you might be able to see on our future workshops. And again, it's a project-based, so you come in with your own idea, your own project, your own challenge, and we help support that development and progress alongside you. Again, the payment plans that we help and offer for this course are 3-month payment plans, 6-month payment plans, and 12-month payment plans for as low as $343 per month. There's no experience required, so newbies have no fear. We welcome everyone from all walks of life. And again, we would love to have you with us. A Mac or Windows computer would do, though Windows and PCs are generally better tailored towards this. If you have any questions about hardware requirements, check out our blog, VR Hardware Requirements. It goes into depth about what you should look into, what to expect, and we offer some suggestions and recommendations for you to check out. Android or iPhones work as well, any mobile phone to develop these types of experiences if it is a mobile experience. There are no headsets required to be able to participate in the course, though I do like to suggest if you can get your hands on a headset, that would be great. You'll get a little more out of it. You won't be held back if not, but you can actually see what you've created and tested, and it adds some value there, a little bit of taste there. If you're interested, please download the syllabus to check out what is covered, or apply now at circuitstream.com/course. And now I would like to invite Jerry back onto the stage here. We're going to take about 15 minutes or so to answer any questions that we may have not covered. I do want to quickly toss in a poll here before Jerry joins us or as he's joining us. What were your thoughts on this workshop? How likely are you to recommend this workshop to others? It helps us improve our content and workshops to deliver free webinars like this. So please let us know, how did we do? Did you enjoy it? And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jerry. Good seeing you.
All right, I'm back. So I was supposed to answer some questions. Let me check in here if I can find unanswered questions. If you can help me as well, Stephane, will be great. There is a really good question here. Did you make any setup to see the output of Oculus when you entered the play mode? Did you just connect the Oculus Quest to the PC and Unity recognized that headset? That's a very good question, and everybody asks me every time because this is confusing. Actually, it depends on a lot of factors. So I'm using an Oculus Quest with the Oculus link. Actually, I'm not using like the official Oculus link. I just have a 3D, not a 3D, a 3.0 USB cable, like a high transfer. It usually works, but you need to go into the Oculus website to see the requirements and the supported graphic cards. They only support a few graphic cards. So yeah, it depends on your graphic cards. It depends on your cable. If you have a good quality cable and a graphic card that is supported, it's basically just installing the Oculus, installing the drivers, and that's all. But it really depends on what you're using. So you need to check. Let me get the link in here. Compatibility. I shared this link just today with a student, so here it is in the chat. There it is. So yeah, that's it. If your computer is compatible, it's just basically installing those things and plugging, and it's gonna work. Let me see if I have more questions. Tyler, what's your favorite headset to use when developing? Where do wireless sets work with testing as well? Well, my favorite one is the Quest because it's the only one that I have. But actually, I do like the Quest because you can test it, plug it to the computer, but it can also test standalone. So I think it's more versatile. It's not super powerful. So I think it depends on what you are developing. I would love to have an index to test more complex things like the Knuckles controllers and other things like that. So I'm pretty satisfied with working and testing in a Quest. I think it's super versatile, but depending on the application, we will need to have multiple ones. That's something. If we're building a multi-platform VR application, at some point, we will need to test in all of those. Let me see. Are the assets files that we can create in Blender? Well, yes, actually, you can create the assets in Blender, Maya, or any other software like that and just bring them into Unity. So you can either drag the Blender file into Unity and it's going to be converted, or you can export it as an FBX, for example, and just import. So yeah, you can use any tool that you prefer to build the assets and just bring them into Unity. I was unable to read from the screen some primers. The record is more clear. Do you send us the link? I'm not sure if the record is more clear, but you're going to receive a link with the entire project. So you're going to have the script. Actually, the script in the project is more complex. It does more things that I was able to build in here because of the time constraints. But the basis is the same, and there are more things like I'm controlling the animation of the hand, which I couldn't cover in here. But it's basically like more of the same thing. So yes, you can check that in the project that we're going to receive. Let me see.
So there's one here, Jerry, and Kyle just added it to the chat from Andy, and my apologies if you've answered it already, but hey, Jerry, I noticed you're using the old deprecated system. Is this because of OpenVR, and is one system better than the other?
That's a good question. Yes, actually, it's not deprecated yet. It's just legacy. So the thing is, but after that system, Unity released the XR Interaction Toolkit. There is a workshop that we hosted a couple of weeks ago. I was the one leading that. But the thing is, it's still in preview. So we don't know exactly how it works. I particularly I love that our system. It's a lot more complete than this one. So it does more stuff. But well, I stick to things that are officially released until they are completely released. So that's why we had like different workshops. One just to show this new tool, wonderful tool. It's gonna be out of preview at some point. But yeah, usually we use things that work until it's completely out of beta. It's the same reason why I'm not using the 2020 in here, because it was beta until last week. They just released that out of beta. I don't know what's gonna happen in that version. I still want it to be a little bit more mature, and that's why they have LTS, long-term support versions. It means that it's like a stable version. They're gonna support that forever. So yeah, it depends. Of course, it's good to experiment with new tools. So download the XR Interaction Toolkit, Unity 2020 to see what they offer. But for professional projects, usually it's good to wait a little bit until it's more mature and stable. Let me see if I have more questions. Another good one. Let me see. Thanks, Kyle. I'd like to learn, one, how to share Unity projects in VR with multiple users. Two, what social VR platforms would you recommend to co-create a large drawing with inserted image? Something like Anyland with the tool of Master VR. Ooh, that's a good question. The number one I can answer. It's possible to make multiplayer applications in Unity. There is one tool, one plugin that I usually use. It's called Photon. Pun. Let me just write in here. Pun 2. You can find that in the asset store. It's like the easiest way of getting multiplayer applications, either VR or not. So I usually use that one. For the second question, I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that. I think that creating that would be cool but challenging, but I don't know any tool that out of the box offers like multiple artists in the same environment. So I would need to research that. Have never used anything like that. What is the best editor to use to learn C# scripting in? Well, the editor doesn't, for learning, the editor doesn't play a big role, so you can use anything. For developing on a daily basis, I really like the Rider because of it auto-completes some things, it formats my code for me, it points some errors. So when you are more experienced, the editor plays a big role because it gives you more productivity. But while you are learning, it doesn't really matter. So any one that is free and that you like using. Usually our students use the Visual Studio because it's free and super complete. So you can use Visual Studio. It's okay. Let me see if I have more questions. Let me see if I can find. Can you see any good questions not answered? My question tab is quite frozen.
Let's see. Let's see.
There is one in the chat. Why you find someone in the question? I don't know why my questions tab it's completely blank. But Amanda is asking, what are the main roles in a team that develops VR apps? Do people specialize? Modeler, coder, project manager, or are generalists more common? Definitely specialized people are more common. So of course, this is like a multidiscipline field. You need to know a little bit of everything so you can communicate better with your team. But it's impossible to build a good application knowing everything and taking care of everything. So usually you have programmers, you have modelers, you have people that inside of model, they are more specialized, like they are just taking care of the textures of the animation. So usually in this field, people are super specialized, which doesn't mean that you cannot know more things. At Circuit Stream, for example, we have people that are programmers, but they are also designers, so they know both things. But they are always specializing in one thing. They need to be, otherwise we cannot just learn everything because it changes a lot. So to be good at something, we need to be specialized. Yeah, but it's always good to know the pipelines, how to interact with the other team members, how to communicate with them. All right, that's a good question.
It is, yeah, it's a great one. There's one here from David. How do you share your game to play it or allow others to play it? Can you just publish it to Oculus or use the Circuit Stream platform?
Well, there are many ways of doing that. It depends on the platform. The Oculus is quite closed, so it's not easy to publish to the Oculus store right now. Just a few vendors can do that. You can, if it's mobile, for example, you can publish to the Google Play Store, to the App Store. If you can just host it on your own site, but the best alternative would be use the Circuit Stream platform for sure, because it handles all of the platforms, and you can just create your users in there and share the link. They can authenticate in there. You have analytics, so you can just launch that directly to the headset. So yeah, I would recommend trying that just to see if it fits to your needs. What more?
There was Richard Lane here had a question quite a while ago with the packages. So when you were doing the packages in Unity, are there any other common packages we should get across or just get in and play?
For this specific project that we built, it's only the input helper legacy. That's all you need to import. But it depends. It depends. For example, if you watch the XR Interaction Toolkit, you're going to see that we imported a bunch of things. So we imported the XR Interaction Toolkit, we imported the XR plugin management, we imported the AR core, the AR kit. So yeah, it depends on what we're bringing to your project. There are thousands of packets in the package manager. We just need to import the things that we're going to be needing for that specific project. In this one, only the input helper, the legacy, XR legacy input helper.
Mm-hmm. And on that same topic, can you use the XR legacy input helper with the HTC Vive?
Yes,
yep.
You can. Yes, you can. The Open VR, that's why we checked at VR supported and bring the Open VR. The Open VR is supported on the HTC Vive. So yes, definitely.
Perfect.
Let me see if I have more.
Judith, are you going to have a demo on texturing? Maybe one day. Just on texturing? We'll see.
Texturing is very complex. You need to be a true artist to get it right. Not my field. I'm not good at that. Let me see. There's a good question in here from Roddy. What to recommend for Unity for cross-platform apps like Xamarin? Actually, you don't need anything. Unity was built in a way that is already multi-platform. So you can use the editor. You can use this thing that I showed in here, write your code in C#, and after you can build for a multitude of platforms. So you can build for, anything, basically. Even consoles. So yeah, Unity was already designed in a way that it's multi-platform. Let me see. I have more unanswered questions.
Yeah, there was this one's about AI from David Elliott. Is artificial intelligence a part of Unity dynamic interactions with computer characters?
Yes, but just a little bit. There is one workshop that I hosted a couple of months ago, which is AI in Unity. Unity only provides a navigation part. So if you want, for example, make your agents walk around and not hit objects and things like that, is something that Unity offers out of the box. Another thing that is in preview is the machine learning agents. This is more complex and could help you with some things, but by dynamic interactions is out of the box is only the nav mesh system. So you can search for that nav mesh in Unity, and there is a workshop where I covered that. But it's very, very basic in Unity regarding AI. You need to build your AI from scratch, basically, if you want to have something that is more complex. Thanks, Ups. There is one thing. Thanks for your response. Could you please clarify what OpenVR exactly is? Yes, OpenVR is an SDK, a software development kit. It's like a bunch of codes and DLLs and things like that makes your application work with different headsets, with different platforms, without you needing to jump into that code. So it's like a standard, an open standard. Multiple companies support that, and they are either compliant with that or not. The Oculus Quest, for example, is not compliant with that. They promise to be in the Oculus 2, but it's like a standard that you don't need to write a same code for tracking the trigger button every single time, because they support OpenVR. So it's like an abstraction that helps you to write one code that works in multiple devices, in multiple platforms and headsets. How much of the battery does Unity use with AR regarding the native application? Well, if you compare with the native application, that's almost the same thing, because actually what Unity does is just write an abstraction on top of the native things. So it doesn't change a lot. It really depends on how you use the application. So if your application is not optimized, if you consume the GPS a lot, if you use the haptic feedbacks, like you make the mobile vibrate all the time, you're going to drain the battery. So it's more like on how you use the resources. Just using Unity or the native, it doesn't make a big difference. Let me see.
There's Arthur here. Recent question. What are your thoughts on A-Frame in terms of VR development compared to Unity?
I don't know what A-Frame is. Let me search it. I don't know what it is. A-Frame. Hello, Web VR. A web framework for building VR to run, make web VR. Okay. Well, it's not like a super precise answer, because I just skimmed through the text, but it seems like it's only available for web VR. So we can do, for example, 360 videos and things like that in the browser using a headset. But Unity is more than that. With Unity, you can create complex applications that track the controllers that we've seen. You can make AR and mixed or VR or mixed reality in the same application. So if I understood correctly, this A-Frame is a little bit more limited, because it's entitled to web VR only. But I might be wrong. I don't know. I will definitely search into that to see what it is, in fact, because I just skimmed through.
Then just to answer Pratham's question here, have you heard about Rockstar making an open world VR game? I have. I've heard that they are creating this huge open world VR game, and I'm super excited to play it because they've got some crazy games coming out. But I have Siddhant Gupta. What all features, you need to know in Unity to become or start a career as a AR VR developer?
What all features you need to know to become a career? Well, that's a good but broad question. It depends on what you want to be. So a career as a Unity developer or AR VR developer, there are many careers inside of it. So if you want, for example, to become a programmer, you need to know how to program. You don't need to be like the best programmer ever, because it comes with experience. But in this case, it would be good to know, for example, about the SDKs that are available, what is available in Unity, how to use those things, how to use C# to track, how to create interactions, like how do I make something to open a door, close a door. So you need to be able to program, basically. So that's more than enough to start, like in an entry-level position. But after that, you need to know a little bit more on how to write good code, how to collaborate with the team, how to review code of others and advise them. So it really depends on what you want to be. if you want to be, for example, environmental designer, like you're gonna just build the 3D models for the environment, you need to be good at making textures, shaders, creating materials, creating models. So it really depends from the perspective. If you're gonna be more a developer, an artist, or a sound designer, maybe. So in this case, you just don't need to know all those things. You just need to study spatial sounds and how to compose tracks and things like that. So it really depends. It's broad. You can do lots of things in this field and be different professional.
So let's take about 5 or so questions here. We don't want to take too much longer. Let's see. And I know Anand posted the question twice or 3 times. So I want to get into VR design. So what skill set for VR UI UX designer?
That's a good question. Well, experience. So basically, if you want to be a good designer for VR, you need to be good at creating experiences that are impressive. So you need to know more about the user, about human factors, than design itself, because this is like the core of design. So you need to know how to approach the users, how to observe them, how to solve problems with design. So we have thousands of problems on how to place the interface in a good way that it's not bugging my eyes, for example. They're not going to have motion sickness, how to make the sound in a way that the user feels comfortable. So you need to know a lot more about people and how to make good things for people than the design itself. So if you have this foundation, like you're good at designing experiences, testing experiences, bringing the user together, then you need to learn how to prototype things and bring them to Unity, for example. So this is like a good thing to know. But I would definitely say that the basis is like user research, human factors, knowing how to solve problems for humans, because we're basically creating experience for humans, right? Yep. And this is not simple. This is very complex. But that's a good path. Let me see. Any good resources about the same? I'm gonna shameless advertise again. There is another workshop that was led by Eric. Eric is the principal VR designer here. He's super experienced. He has more than 10 years of experience with design, especially for VR and AR. And he's really good at that. You should just reach him out or watch the workshops on demand. He works with that on a daily basis. So I think he's better than I am to answer that question. There we go. Thanks. Someone just posted the workshop in there. Let me see. There was a good question, but this just disappeared.
Alrighty, so let's take a couple of more questions when we find them here. So for those questions we don't get back to, feel free to reach out to myself, to Kyle, Dayon, any of our team members. We'd be more than happy to source some information, forward them to Jerry or any of our other colleagues to help out. So no worries if we miss them today. Let's see.
There was a good question, but I just can't find it anymore. Just disappeared. Are there? There's one in here. Are there generic C# scripts that can be used for similar actions? Yes, that's the whole point of creating a script. So every time we try to create a script, every time we need to create a script, we try to make it more generic as possible. So we can. That's why they are called behaviors or components, because we can basically replicate them. So yes, you can find on the internet scripts that solve particular problems that we can reuse. But when you create your own script, you need to try the same. So for example, here, I was creating a script for the right hand, but I want it to be used for the left hand as well. And if we have, a character that walks or an enemy that walks, I want to use the same script for all of the enemies and just change parameters so they behave a little bit differently. So yes, that's the whole point of having scripts, actually. We need to try to make them as generic as possible.
Okay, so let's do this last one here. This is from Nicholas in the chat. Writing VR apps, do you meet performance bottlenecks very different than the ones you meet with a classic real-time 3D app, except from the left and right renderings?
That's a really good question. Actually, not really. The bottlenecks are pretty much the same in terms of performance. The thing is, when you are designing for VR, you need to have a high frame rate. So 60 frames per second is not acceptable. And another problem is you're rendering twice because you have like two cameras in here and you need to render every single image twice. So the bottlenecks are the same, but they are duplicate, they are doubled. So you need to take twice as much care, but the problems are the same, like instantiating things and dealing with memory, texture, allocation, expensive calls in the code. So basically you have the same bottlenecks. They are just multiplied by 2.
Beauty.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Nick. Well, let's wrap it there, Jerry. Again, if there are any questions we missed, and I see we have missed some, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, to Dayan, to Kyle. We'd be more than happy to try and answer them ourselves or to forward it to Jerry. But thank you again, everyone, so much for joining us on this workshop. It was a blast having you all and answering some very exciting and interesting questions. Jerry, thank you so much for your time, answers, and leading everyone with the VR side of things. Really appreciate it. But I wish you all a wonderful evening, a great night, a good morning if you are still tuning in from abroad. And we hope to see you on the next workshops. Check out our webpage. We host workshops almost every week on different topics, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you again, everyone.
All right. Bye, everyone.